Hello, we're going to talk about absolute value and what that means and how we evaluate that when it's in a problem. So, first, we want to talk about the definition of absolute value. So, absolute value means the distance from zero. Distance from zero. So, we're talking about a number line here. And so, absolute value is distance from zero. So if I were to have this number here, 3, I'm looking at the absolute value of 3. Now, absolute value look like parentheses, but they are straight looking parentheses. They're not curved at all. And so the absolute value, again, distance from 0. So if I'm looking for the absolute value of 3, that means that it is how many spaces away it is from 0. So 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 spaces from 0. So the absolute value of 3 is 3. However, what if I had -4? Let's say I want the absolute value of -4. Again, it's how many spaces away it is from 0. So if I count those, it is 4 spaces from 0. -4 is 4 spaces from 0. So the absolute value of -4 is 4. Now notice that whether the number is positive or the number is negative, the answer is always positive. And the reason is because of the definition. Distance. Distance cannot be negative. Despite going in a negative direction, the distance that I travel, the amount of space that I travel, is still a positive number. Okay, so that's the definition of absolute value. So let's look at some other examples in dealing with absolute value. So, evaluate. -4 times the absolute value of -4. So again, like I said, they kind of look like parentheses. So when we're looking at our order of operations, we are going to do that first. So the absolute value of -4 is the first thing that we do. So the absolute value of -4 is 4 because it is 4 spaces away from 0. And then last but not least, -4 times 4. Well, 4 times 4 is 16. We have a negative times a positive gives us a negative number. So our answer is -16. Next example, evaluate the absolute value of 5 minus the absolute value of -5. All right, first things first, let's deal with the absolute value piece. The absolute value of 5 is 5 because that's 5 spaces from 0. The absolute value of -5 is 5 because, again, -5 is 5 spaces away from 0 when we look at that number line. And then now we have 5 minus 5 gives us 0. Next example, evaluate the absolute value of A plus B minus C given A equals 5, B equals -3, and C equals -2. All right, so our first steps here are to plug in the values where they go. So we have the absolute value, A, which is 5, plus B, which is -3, minus C, which is -2. And we said that they look and work like parentheses in many aspects. In this case, we have to do what's on the inside before we can take the absolute value of it, because we don't know how much space that is from 0. So double negative become positive. So we have 5 plus a -3 plus 2. And because we have addition in here, we're just going to go left to right. So 5 plus a negative 3 is the same as 5 minus 3. So that gives us 2. And now we have 2 plus 2 gives us 4. And now we can take the absolute value. The absolute value of 4 is 4. And last example. Evaluate the absolute value of negative 6 plus 3 times the absolute value of 4 plus the absolute value of negative 5 minus 0 times 6. All right, seems like a complicated problem, but again, one piece at a time. So let's go ahead and evaluate those absolute values. So the absolute value of negative 6 is 6, and 6 spaces from 0. Absolute value of 4 is 4. Absolute value of negative 5 is 5. And the rest stays. Now, according to PEMDAS, we do multiplication first. So we have this multiplication here and that multiplication there. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 0 times 6 is 0. So we have 6 plus 12 plus 5 minus 0. Now we have addition and subtraction in the same problem, so we're going to go left to right. So we do 6 plus 12 gives us 18. And then we do 18 plus 5. And again, on these ones, if you want to use your calculator to double check your mental math here, you can. We get 23, and 23 minus 0 is 23. So that's our answer. That's it for this video. As you do the lesson, if you have any questions, make sure to ask your teacher. Have a great day.